But unlike the others, another giant chopped down trees like cutting grass. This was a way of felling trees you had never seen before. This giant only needed to lightly swing his axe to bring down a tree. He could effortlessly stomp the leftover stumps into the ground. All of this was as easy as candy to him. However, not long ago, this giant was just a baby giant. The boy had been abandoned in a coastal village where kind villagers came together to adopt him. Taking care of the boy required 5 people working day and night just to make diapers. Even a single sock took 9 people to finish. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the boy was old enough to go to school. But because of his unusual size, he couldn't fit into a classroom, so he could only sit on a small house nearby and listen to the teacher's lessons. He became good friends with the children there. The kids loved playing with him in the lake, and everyone adored him. Soon it was Christmas, and the village prepared gifts for each child. Naturally, the giant's gift was something special. The villagers gave him a giant axe. He was thrilled with his Christmas present and immediately ran into the forest to try it out. With a gentle swing of the axe, large trees fell like blades of grass. In no time, the entire village was filled with wood. The villagers used that wood to build houses, and as the people grew wealthier, the giant decided to help others who were more in need. So he began traveling far and wide. But winter came quickly. One day, he was preparing to burn wood for a fire when he suddenly heard crying from afar. Curious, he stood up to investigate and pushed aside the snow. He saw a cow, frozen stiff and unconscious. The giant pushed it toward the fire to warm it up. Slowly, its rigid body softened. Although they had just met, the two quickly became companions. Together, they continued their journey. As the ice and snow melted, their footprints turned into small lakes of various shapes. To help people transport the wood more efficiently, the giant cleared a space in the forest and drew 2 rivers across it. But problems quickly arose. The rivers were too winding, making wood transport difficult. So the giant strapped a plow to the cow's head and threw a giant anchor into the river. As the cow began to pull with all its strength, the meandering river was straightened in an instant. Now the wood could be transported without any obstacles. But as more ships docked at the port, merchants began arriving in droves. They showed the villagers the most modern saws. This scene was noticed by the giant, who asked what the merchant was doing. But the merchant rudely told him to move aside and not get in the way. Then he used a chainsaw to fell a massive tree and even blew sawdust into the giant's face. The merchants didn't just bring chainsaws, they also brought the latest steam-powered freight trains. To aggressively promote his product, one merchant challenged the giant to a contest. Whoever chopped the most wood within the time limit would win. At the referee's signal, both began chopping trees rapidly. The giant went first, and the merchant was close behind. Both pushed their limits. Trees fell faster and faster. The wood was then transported by train and by the cow, who also silently competed with the locomotive. They quickly carved out 2 separate paths through the forest. Soon after, the referee announced the contest had ended. When he arrived at the scene, the pile of wood was already hundreds of meters tall. The referee then measured the merchant's stack and found it was 5 centimeters taller than the giant's. Thus, the merchant won the competition. The giant had no choice but to hug his cow and quietly walk away. The two no longer worked here. Compared to the experience and synergy between the giant and the cow,